we here now. Episode 8 of the 10-part series of the 97-98 Chicago Bulls, The Last Dance. This is the Bulls on the road to their second three-peat in 8 years. So, hey, shout out to all my returning subscribers. Hey, I definitely appreciate y'all. And if you're new to my channel and you like my content, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can get something every time I upload. I'm MoedotJ, and if you don't know, I'm not gonna hold you up. Let's jump right into it. This is episode 8. Let's get it. So starting off this episode, we're in 1998 playoffs. We just seen last week they beat the Nets, 3-0 them, get them out of here. Now, the second round, they're playing the Charlotte Hornets. What a coincidence, MJ now owns the Charlotte Hornets, but that's a whole nother story. That's after the last dance. But guess who plays on the Charlotte Hornets right now? B.J. Armstrong. If you don't remember, B.J. Armstrong was the point guard for the Bulls. He won the first three-peat with the Bulls. So he knows his team, and he knows that they're far superior than what the Hornets are. But you may know that a team is better than you, but you still got to go out there and give it your all. Win or lose, you got to go out there and try. And guess what? Game 1, who else but the Bulls? They won. So everyone's coming into this game thinking, oh, it's going to be a sweep. Not even close. Bulls by 18. They're going to win every single game. Another sweep. Go to the next round. Boy, were they on to something wrong. Like I was saying, boy, were they wrong. Game 2 rolls around. And the thing about basketball, any night can be any player's night. In game 2, it just so happened to be B.J. Armstrong's night. I'm talking about B.J. was going off. He was hitting all kinds of shots. You wouldn't have expected it from B.J. to take over a game, but that's exactly what B.J. did. B.J. took over the game. No one could do anything with him. They had Jordan on him. He's going around picks. He's hitting everything. And it's like, man, it's his night. Even though you know he's not like that, he's not that type of player, it's his night. So you're still trying your best. And I guess the basketball guys was with him that night because everything was falling. So it comes down to the game is 74-71. B.J. Armstrong has the ball. 30 seconds left. MJ has to get up there and hold him. Boom, he gets the ball. Doom, doom, doom. He's doing his thing. MJ is on him. So you know MJ playing the best defense you can. He goes around the pick. MJ goes off the pick. He hits that wing, that elbow, pulls it, boom, hits the shot. It's about 7 seconds left, puts them up by 5. B.J. Armstrong explodes. He yells at the Bulls bench. He lets Jordan, Pippen, Bill, everybody know he hit this shot. And everybody on the Hornets team was so happy they tied the series up. No one expected them to win one game. But what did they do? They won one game. But they also said that was the worst thing that BJ could do, was do all that yelling and stuff. Because all that did was fuel the fire for MJ to come back and put that heat on them boys in game 3. And like I said, MJ uses all of that to his advantage. So after the game, they're in the locker room, they're just chilling, they're just talking about the next game. And they all knew that what BJ did was a fluke. It wasn't going to happen again. But MJ said, let's see if you talking all that when the game is 0-0. It's easy to talk. It's easy to talk trash when you're ahead. It's easy to talk trash when you're behind. That just means you're a man because you're still competing. But it's hard to talk trash when it's 0-0 because you don't know the outcome of it. And MJ just sat there with the baseball bat and his cigar, and he just thought about it. Like, hey man, I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna terrorize him. And BJ had no idea what he was in for. I'm sure he knew what was coming up next, but still, he did not know what was coming up for him because MJ was not playing around. So at this point, MJ went out there and terrorized B.J. Armstrong. They went on to beat the Hornets. It was no competition. They won that one game. It was a sweep after that. 4-1. They went the next games 3-0. But they took us back to 94. So BJ's, he's sitting down. He's eating pancakes with MJ, you know, because he was still good friends with him. And after they had breakfast, BJ was like, man, I got to go to practice. Because he kept telling MJ this. MJ's like, hey, meet up with me. He's like, nah, I got practice. You know how the game goes. MJ's like, man, meet up with me. So they go have breakfast. BJ's like, hey, just come with me to the practice facility, man. Everybody like to see you. MJ follows him back to the arena. So he shows up. The media, everybody's there. And he's in there. And then it turns into MJ shooting around. Then it turns into MJ is back 3 times in a week? What's really going on here? Is this a return of Mike? Are we going to see Mike come back? Everyone wants to know, is Mike coming back? He's practicing with the team now. They're doing full court 5-on-5s. Is MJ coming back? So the crazy thing about that, this has happened to Jordan before. So they took us back to 93. And there was a guy named LeBradford Smith. The Washington Bullets were super trash. Trash. When you say trash, you would think of Washington Bullets. But anyway, they had a guy named LeBradford Smith that they drafted. LeBradford, he was pretty good in college, but he wasn't what they panned out, the way he thought he was going to pan out to be in the NBA. A big buzz. But anyway, one day in the playoffs, he had his night, and he just couldn't miss. So he went off 28 points. And allegedly, at the end of the game, he went up to Mike, hugged Mike, and told him, good game. So Mike used that good game as fuel to the fire. And the night before the next game, after LeBradford Smith hit the 28 points, MJ said, I'm going to get more than what that kid scored in the first half of the game. MJ goes out there and puts up 34 points in the first half. Remember, LeBradford Smith scored about 28 in the whole game. MJ did that in the first half. After the game, they asked MJ, hey, did LeBradford Smith really come up to you and tell you good game after that? MJ laughed and said, nah. So pretty much what he did was use that. He created his own enemy on that court and used it against him. So, you know, when BJ Armstrong went off like that, MJ was coming back with a vengeance. I like this Last Dance, because they're telling the stories that we would have never known anything about. They said this, but it was probably a small interview. We never would have known most of this stuff that they're saying. But we now know that Jordan has been creating his own enemies and demons in his head. He's on another level when it comes to this competitiveness, even if he has to make the story himself. So everyone thinks, is MJ coming back? So he actually sits down with one of his publishers, the PR and stuff, and he's talking to him, and he's like, man, I think I want to come back. So he's asking him, are you sure? So he writes up a couple of drafts for MJ to say at the press conference. Long story short, MJ said, that doesn't say anything that I want to say. Give me a piece of paper. And he just wrote, I'm back. And that was signifying MJ is back. We about to see Michael Jordan come back in the 95 season. And the 94-95 season, my bad, because the 96 season they won. But we get to see MJ come back and everybody's going crazy. It's to the point where they selling out of tickets like they never have. The Bulls weren't doing that good. They lost Horace Grant. He went to Orlando. And Scottie Pippen was the leader, but when MJ came back, they were 34-31, barely over 500. So they were kind of struggling. But hey, MJ is back. So they playing the Pacers the first game, and unfortunately, Mike coming back, he's wearing the 4-5 because that was his first number that he ever played in. And also, he didn't want to wear 23 because his father had passed, and he didn't want to play a game in the 23 because he always wore 23 and his dad watched those games. But he had the 45 on, but he was in baseball shape. He wasn't in basketball shape. They ended up losing to the Pacers, and Jordan had 19 points. It was like 6 for 18 or 28, something like that. Just terrible. They lost in overtime, but at this point, he's still, tired. He's been playing baseball, so his conditioning is way off, and he just has to get reacclimatized with the game of basketball. He's missing shots that he wouldn't normally ever miss. There are people in the crowd like, Jordan, this ain't the Jordan that we know. This is a wannabe, man. We don't know who this guy is. So the Bulls, they make it to match up against the Orlando Magic, who had a stunning young team. I'm talking Penny Hardaway, big Shaquille O'Neal. This is when Shaquille was the slim, just tearing rims down. They got the new addition, Horace Grant, who became a star when he got to Orlando. And they got Nick Anderson. So they're playing the Bulls, and it's a pretty close game. Like, they're like, okay, cool. The Bulls have a chance to take it to the championship. But like I said, Jordan's still out of shape. He still doesn't have that killer in him like he used to, because he's just not basketball shape at the moment. So it comes down to MJ having a chance to hit a shot. But instead of taking the shot, he throws it to Scottie Pippen, and it's a turnover. It goes out of bounds. They lose the game 94-91. After the game, Nick Anderson said that 45 ain't the same as 23. Pretty much saying, like, Jordan in that number 45, he ain't the same player he was in that 23. And Horace Grant even said, man, that was the wrong thing to say, man. The wrong thing. The media's blowing this out of proportion. This just saying, dun dun dun, dun dun dun. Michael Jordan is human. That's how far they were taking it, because they're not used to seeing Jordan playing like a regular player. MJ already said that he was nervous about coming back into this game. He had switched up from the 45 back to the 2-3. He went off in game 2. They're like, dang, MJ is back, but he's still rusty. But the thing about a great player is he still pushed through it and did his best, and he still went off for the next couple of games. Once they get into this elimination game, it's 3-2. It just isn't enough. He just isn't where he really needs to be. They're up by 1 point. MJ comes down. He airballs a shot. 101-102. They get the ball. They push it up court. Who else but Horace Grant gets the dunk to put them up by 1. The Magic go ahead and win the series. They go on to play in the championship. They lose to Hakeem in their second championship out in Houston. But MJ knew his body wasn't where it needed to be physically for the game of basketball. I'm pretty sure he wasn't there mentally, just knowing, like, my body ain't right. So I know that's weighing in on his head, like, man, I got to get my body right. But I can't. I didn't have enough time. I just jumped straight back into basketball in professional games. No matter how good you are, you're still playing against other professionals. This is the top. This is the elite. This is the best of the best. I don't care how good you are. If you take time off, especially a year and a half, it's going to be very, very hard for you to get back into basketball shape. Right after the season is over, MJ jumps straight into the infamous Space Jam movie. But the thing about MJ is he wanted to get back in basketball shape. So his main focus was, hey, I got to work out. So he's recording the Space Jam, and they got him doing all this stuff. But in the back of his mind, all he wants to do is work out. So he told him, hey, if I'm going to record this movie, I'm going to have to be able to practice. So they said, oh, that's no problem. Like Shannon Sharp said, ain't no problem. That's no problem. Ain't no problem. So Warner Brothers actually built him a full gym with a full court, full workout, all the weights he needed. And he would work out. They would record all day, and he would go practice. He would get a 2-hour break to get to practice. He would go practice before they shoot, during his 2-hour break, and then at the end of that. MJ was practicing and practicing and practicing. He was dedicated to getting his body back right, because he knew basketball is where I need to be, and I need to be winning these championships. I can't just be out there running around playing for fun. I'm out here to win. That's the only thing I'm here for. So Warner Brothers did what they promised. Like I said, they made the gym. And the thing that was crazy about it is MJ, not only did he have the gym to himself, he also had the cast members, Patrick Ewing, Muggsy Bogues, Larry Johnson, Charles Barkley, and Sean Bradley there. All the great NBA players were coming. Shaq was there, Rodman. They would all come there, and they were playing 5-on-5 pickup games. Reggie Miller. Everybody was showing up to this, and everyone was practicing, and they're just getting some good runs in. So how they had the Olympic team running like that, they had all of the best NBA players in the league at the time. They were coming to Warner Brothers Studios and just taking turns. Like, hey, this week I got this 8 people coming. And they were all out there playing with MJ. And the thing that MJ was doing, other people were taking it as, we just playing games. MJ was studying. Okay, that's what Reggie Miller does. Oh, okay. That's what Patrick Ewing does? Okay, that's what he does. He's watching everybody. He's actually learning. Everybody else is out there just playing around. I won't say playing around, but they just playing the game and being competitive. But he's like, hey, when this 96 season starts, I'm coming at all of them. I'm getting my championship. Now we get to the infamous practice. Space Jam is shot. We get to the infamous practice where Steve Kerr and MJ get into it. So MJ and Steve Kerr, they never had a personal beef. It's always just been basketball. But the thing is, MJ will push and push. Like in episode 7, he's on every single player because he wants you to be the best that you can be. And the thing about it is, he was holding Steve Kerr, and Phil Jackson was calling these knick-knack fouls. And Steve Kerr is competitive just like Michael Jordan is competitive. What Steve Kerr described himself as, I'm competitive, I'm just not as good to back up my competitiveness. So Phil Jackson calls a foul on MJ, and MJ gets real mad about it. Steve Kerr is mad about it too, like, come on MJ, you know what I'm saying, you hacking me. So the story is, and this is from Steve Kerr's mouth, he punched MJ in his chest. So if you punch a grown man, you gotta be expecting it. Throw them things, man. You live to fight another day, but you gotta be ready for that. He hit MJ in the chest. MJ's first reaction was, boom, hit him in the eye. Right when that happened, Phil Jackson kicked MJ out of practice. But like I said, there was no personal beef between the two. So when MJ left, he called back up to the practice arena like, hey, give me Steve Kerr's number. They got on the phone like men, they talked it out, and they knew it was nothing like that. MJ told Steve Kerr it was nothing personal, you know what I'm saying? It's just what's going on with basketball, and Phil was calling those fouls, but it was nothing personal. And they squashed it out. And Steve Kerr said that was actually one of the best things that happened when they were on that team, because this brought them all together. And it's like, okay, we know what MJ expects from us. Let's go out there and win. So pretty much, in that 96 season, they played the Magic. Sweep. We ain't even got to get into detail about that because it was a clean sweep. They had nothing. But MJ had been holding that on the inside for a whole year. Just because they got beat by him last year, he torched them the next year. And they asked him, was this revenge for last year? And MJ's pretty much like, yeah, pretty much. They beat us. And I had to change my number on them. I had to go back to 2-3. So now look, I'm here. They ain't got nothing to say. I'm ready for this ring. That's MJ for you, man. He's gonna hold a grudge against you until he can beat you. He's gonna find out how he can beat you. And what did he do? He came back and swept him. That's just MJ for you. They make it to the finals after sweeping the Magic, and they play the Seattle Supersonics, who was a pretty good team, but they were not as good as the Bulls. They were the best team in the West, but they were not as good as the Bulls. I would say that they were the original Lob City. So you had Chris Paul and Blake. You had Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp. Gary Payton was a defensive player of the year this year. The boy could score. The glove was nice. Shawn Kemp was dunking on everybody. Like I said, they were the original Lob City finishers. But everyone said this is the most lopsided finals ever. That's crazy. But their coach is George Karl. So George Karl and Michael Jordan, they go back to North Carolina. The only thing is, there was a dinner before the playoffs started. George Karl seen Michael Jordan, and he walked right by him, didn't say anything. MJ, being MJ, is like, oh, it's like that? Instantly, that becomes a grudge for MJ. He's like, okay, I'm going to show George Karl. Every game, I'm going to go out for him. You didn't even want to speak to me, and we've known each other for years? Okay, I see how we playing. I'm about to go off. I'm about to annihilate y'all. And that was the wrong thing for George Karl to do. 3 games straight, he come out there 28 points, 29 points, 28 points. MJ was not playing around with George Karl. And at this point, they're down 3-0. It's looking like it's about to be a sweep. The Sonics have to come up with something to stop MJ. And you can only look at your coach like, dang, George, all you had to do was say what's up to him. We may be down like 2-1 right now. It's 3-0, coach. Thanks a lot, coach. So the Sonics, they have to come up with a different game plan, because whatever they're doing now, it ain't working. What's the game plan we can do? What can we do, coach? You need to put something together, because we're not trying to get swept out here and look like some fools and then make all the reports, the most lopsided finals, be correct. So the Sonics adjusted. So the Sonics make that change that they desperately need. And what do? They put Gary Payton on them. Now, I don't know why they didn't have Gary Payton on him from game 1. He was the defensive player of the year. But once they put him on him, it went from 3-0 to 3-2. Gary Payton was, I won't say locking down, but he was holding his own against MJ, which gave him a chance to win 2 straight games. Now, George Karl, he said he didn't want Gary Payton to do offense and defense. He didn't want to wear him out, so that's why he didn't hold him. But Gary said, when I'm out there, I'm going to hold MJ because he's trying to win. You compete. It doesn't matter if you're going to be tired. Your job is to get out there and you try to hold the best player that you can if it's going to mean making the team better. So they come back, it's 3-2. MJ's looking at Gary Payton's interview and he's like, I never had a problem with the glove. Like, he couldn't hold me. I could do whatever I want. I had other things on my mind. This will be his first finals playing without his dad being alive. And his dad was at all his finals. And where did Game 6 land? On Father's Day. I'm pretty sure we all know the outcome because MJ doesn't do Game 7s in the finals, but Father's Day was a big day for him, and it was very tough for him to be the first Father's Day, and you back in the uniform, and you're in the finals, and your dad isn't there. It's got to be a lot on your mind. The Bulls go on to win the championship. MJ's emotional. It's his first ring coming back, and he's just super emotional. So this is where we get the infamous picture of him on the ground, lying down on the ground with the ball, crying. It's just a big day for him. It's Father's Day. He won a championship. His dad's gone. Usually his dad's there. You know the picture where he's hugging the Larry O'Brien trophy. His dad's right there. His dad isn't there for this. And he does all this winning for his teams and everything. So it's like, this is one of the most emotional days for MJ, man. You would think he'd be celebrating, but at that time, his celebrating was honoring his dad, man. That's a big thing. That's MJ. That was the 4th ring. Sheesh, that's gotta be tough. And then the last thing we get to see is him just laying on the ground crying, man. Now we get to fast forward to the infamous Bulls versus Pacers. Oh yeah. So the big thing behind this is Reggie Miller. Him and MJ had always battled because they're both in the East. But MJ, it was rumors that this is going to be his last year, and Reggie Miller wanted to be the reason he retired. Not the reason he retired, but the last person that beats him, he wanted to be that person. So I know this is leading up into episode 9, which is going to be real good because we get to see the playoffs and the big rivalries that were going on. And then, of course, episode 10, the championship. But going into episode 9 is a big anticipation because I liked that series that they had, the Bulls and Pacers, man. All right, that was episode 8. Comment below what you think. Do you think that you would be able to play a basketball game when you know your father's been to all of them and he passed and you just won another championship and he's not there to be there with you? How do you think you would feel? Do you think you'd be able to play through that? Comment below. But hey, I'm MoedotJ. That was episode 8. Thank you for watching. And like I said, if you like my content, please subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notification bell to get something every time I upload. Subscribe, share, comment. Thank you for watching. And like always, follow me on my social media, MoedotJ on everything. Hey, be here next week for episode 9. We get to see the Pacers series. Thank you for watching. Hey, I'm out.
Jimmy on the beat, boy.